Did I hear you say you're an MD?
Yes.
We'll get together and see what else we do. Have you ever done like a DOT job?
So we've got
All right, we're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. Before we do, is there anyone that does not want their picture taken? If you could just raise your hand. Taking some photos. Miss Ada, you raising your hand, but I know that's not a real hand. All right, 2 minutes. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to welcome you all and thank you for coming out. My name is Ikua Menzedu. I'm the president of Clementine Gold Group. And we just want to welcome you to the public hearing for the draft scope of work for the East Delavan Sewer Improvement Project. Before we get started, I did want to recognize we have one of our beloved elected officials in the House. That's the Majority Leader for the New York State Assembly, the 141st District. So just want to welcome you to come say a couple of words. I don't know how we got in the dark that quick. Can you go just a little bit higher? We'll dim it when the presentation's going on. Thank you. Thank you, Majority.
Well, thank you so much as well. It's really a great honor and pleasure to be here, mostly because the project that you're getting ready to talk about and work on is all within the 141st Assembly District. And as you can, this is not the first hearing, is it?
No.
And there'll be a lot more, I hope, because it's all that I don't find out tonight, people are going to call and ask me about. I'm going to need to call you back and find out the answers to it. So I'm here, my staff person, Debbie Tucker, is here as well. It is a big project, and it's going to take a long time, and it's going to impact people's lives directly who live in that neighborhood. So for that reason, I'm here to hear how you plan to do it. And then the other thing I want to hear about is not just how much it's going to cost, but how much will be left in the community as an economic investment, as opposed to just the sewer investment. Clearly, we know we need to invest in sewers, we need to try to protect our water, but at the end of the day, since so much money is being spent, I'm going to want to know how much economic benefit will be left in the community as well. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to your comments, and thank you, Madam McCoy.
Thank you for coming. All right, so we have, BSA come and start us off.
Good evening, everyone. Our agenda for this evening includes our introductions, program, project background, draft scope of work, content submittal process, the long-term control planning, and project alternatives, and then the public involvement enhancement, public participation. our project team. On your left, yes, it's me. I am Regina Harris. I'm the project manager for this project. I'm a senior engineer with Buffalo Sewer Authority. Rosalie Noble is here as well. She's in the back of the room. She is our principal sanitary engineer. And then OJ McFoy is our general manager. Rebecca Shaw is the project manager on behalf of our engineer. Hazen Sawyer. Katie Hook is the environmental lead, and my twins are all in the room. And then we have Clementine Gold, Matt Kua, Menzadu, who is the president of Clementine Gold, and then we have Mark Glasgow and Kim O'Hare. I'll just get started. The program and project background. So just a little bit about our program. Actually, this will be getting launched tomorrow, so you can get a little bit of a sneak peek. But our Queen City Clean Waters is what most people would refer to as a long-term control plan. Our mission is to safeguard public health and environment while fostering strong community partnerships, creating meaningful workforce opportunities, and driving lasting economic impact for future generations in Buffalo. So why is this work being done? This work is being done as part, again, of our long-term control plan. It is part of what we have to do in order to meet the requirements of the EPA, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We have an administrative order, and we are required to reduce the number of combined sewer overflows. So if you look here, the picture has dry weather and wet weather, and our sewers in the city of Buffalo, like many other communities, are combined, meaning that they take both sanitary flows and storm flows. So during wet weather, we have the potential for combined sewer overflows into the waters surrounding our city. In particular, this project discharges into Skajackwada Creek, which is within the Forest Lawn Cemetery. So part of our Queen City Clean Waters will reduce the number of these events. And that, again, is a part of our long-term control plan, which we have submitted for approval. Again, Queen City Clean Waters, and that is 50 plus sites, $1 billion of investment, and over the next 15 years. So what is this project? This project is the improvement of the sewer system along Estella Avenue, Florida Avenue, at Spillman. Project again will help to reduce the number of combined sewer overflows. Its plan goal is to keep combined sewage out of the Skajackwada Creek, create 1 million gallons of storage, and redirect Buffalo sewers, and redirect that flow to Buffalo Sewer, Bird Island Treatment Facility to treat it instead of discharging, like I mentioned, to Skajackwada. Why is this project required? Again, in compliance with United States EPA and New York State DEC, we are required to reduce combined sewer overflows. Another goal is to improve water quality and then to increase the resiliency of our system. Our system is very old and we have climate change, so we need to increase the resiliency of our system. So I will put it into the hands of Katie Hook, who will talk more about our draft scope of work, which you are here for, and the comment and submittal process.
Again, Katie Hook from Hazen. We're helping with the design and environmental review and permitting for the project. And so why we are all here today. Some of of you might be familiar with the State Environmental Quality Review Act. It's legislation from the state that requires projects to go under environmental review if they're either undertaken by a public agency, approved by a public agency, or funded by a public agency in New York State. So that's why the project is under review. And it requires, basically, it's a process to make sure that a project is not creating harm to the community where it's located or to the environment, and trying to improve it instead. So some projects rise to a level where you want to do a more detailed review to make sure that you're really capturing whether or not there will be any impacts, and then being able to clarify what the benefits will be of the project. So for those types of projects, you do what is called an environmental impact statement, which is a fairly prescribed document and process by the seeker, the State Environmental Quality Review legislation. And so that's BSA, as the lead agencies, they're the ones that are undertaking the project, have decided that this project is important and significant enough that it rises to the level of requiring an environmental impact statement. And so a draft scope of work is the first step in that process. A draft scope of work is put together and it says this is the information that will be in the draft and the EIS, the environmental impact statement. This is how we will evaluate whether or not there are impacts and clarify the benefits, quantify the benefits. And then the most important piece of this is the EIS process has a public review component. And so the draft scope of work says this is what the EIS is going to say, this is what we think we need to look at, this is where we need to look at it, and the public has an opportunity to say whether or not they think that the review will be robust enough to do a good job of evaluating the project. So the first step of the draft scope, you issue it, and so hopefully people have seen that was issued on the 4th. There are a couple of copies here. You can access it online. You can also, we'll go through, there's some repositories. Then as part of the scoping process, you also have these hearings. So we're having the in-person hearing tonight, and then we will have a virtual hearing on Thursday. You can join via Zoom. So the hearings happen during the public review process for the scope of work, which lasts 30 days. So that'll end on November 1st. And so you can provide comments in a couple different ways. So I'll show you first do this. So where you can find it, like we were saying, is at Buffalo Sewer Authority. Also at 3 different libraries nearby the project site. So they're shown here, where you can actually go look at a physical copy of the draft scope. There's also copies in the back. And then also it is available online here. So you can go onto the Buffalo Sewer website and be able to find a copy that you can review on the website as well. And then we'll talk about it here tonight, which basically explain what the project is, and a little bit of how we're going to review the project, or attend the hearing on Thursday. So, commenting on the draft scope. So what happens is it's out, everyone will review it, we'll talk about it today. If you want to make a formal comment on the document, you can speak tonight. You can submit them in writing, via mail, or email. And then you can also attend the meeting on Thursday, and you can speak at the meeting on Thursday. And essentially what that does is it records your comment into the public record, and it requires a response. So Buffalo Sewer will respond to each and every comment that is received, and then they will take that, and if someone said, for example, oh, why are you doing a traffic data collection point here? We really think it should be at this other intersection. Then Buffalo Sewer would respond to that comment. If we thought we needed to make a change, that would happen. And the response to all of those comments will come out as a document, along with a finalized version of the scope of work. And that final scope of work is what is used to conduct the environmental review. And so it forms the basis of the environmental review document. So we welcome any and all comments. So here, a little bit, again, the timeline. So right now we're at the 30-day public comment period. In October at the orange and blue, we're doing some data collection, which Clementine Gold Group will talk about in a little bit. And then we'll take all this information, finalize the scope, which is the blueprint for the environmental review document. And we'll be back here again in late spring to present all the studies, all the work that was done, and whether or not they're, we'll clarify if there's any impacts, talk about benefits of the project, and have that transparency. The public will have a chance to comment again on that, whether or not you agree with or disagree with the studies and their conclusions. Rebecca.
Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Shaw. I'm from Hazen and Sawyer. Thanks for coming out this evening. So I'm going to talk about the long-term control planning and project alternatives. So as we mentioned, this project, what we call the East Element Sewer Improvement Project, it's part of the larger Buffalo Sewer Queen City Clean Waters program. And this is to really improve the water quality in the city. So basically what happens is, during dry weather, the sun is out, there's no rain, there's no snow melt. Sewage makes its way to the sewers into what we call the Skagakota Tunnel, and then it's treated at the Bird Island Treatment Facility before it's discharged into the Niagara River. And so that's what we have reflected here. We've got like a typical City of Buffalo home, and then, whatever goes down the bathtub, the toilet, the sink, it goes right into the Buffalo sewer main. And then during dry weather, it just goes right down to the Skagakota Tunnel and then to the treatment facility. So during wet weather, a portion of the combined rainwater and sewage, these are directed to what we call the Skagakota drain, and then it goes directly to the Skagakota Creek. Lots of Skagakotas, so it is a little confusing. But basically what happens is there is a weir structure, and if the flow is too much, then it just goes into Skagakota Creek, and that's often referred to as a combined sewer overflow. So essentially this project aims to keep that combined sewage out of the creek by temporarily storing over 1 million gallons of combined sewage and rainwater until there is enough capacity at the treatment facility. So what we're calling the proposed action, basically this is the proposed alternatives that we are proposing for this project. The overall goal is to select the best alternative to divert that flow from entering the creek. So the project alternatives that we are looking at, by being able to store the volume, the amount of combined sewage entering the creek, we can improve the quality of the downstream water bodies where many people, live and work. And Buffalo Sewer is evaluating 2 different designs for the project that really hope to do that. The first option is an underground deep storage tank. That's what's shown on the left. And that is beneath Canisius property. What's reflected in that white rectangle on your screen, that is an underground deep storage tank. And that's at the corner of East Delavan Avenue and just north of Spillman Place. The second option is a storage tunnel, and that is below East Delavan Avenue, right between Meach Street and starting at Spillman Place. And so what's reflected in this image on the right is that tunnel that is going to be able to store that combined rainwater and sewage temporarily. Both projects, both alternatives will be expensive. They will take about 2 to 3 years to build. And the biggest impact right now that we're seeing is in the community there will be removal of underground rock. The rock is very hard in this area. It's very close to the surface. And it will require blasting to break it up so that it can be removed during construction. The blasting, it will have noise, as you can imagine. It will have vibrations, potentially dust associated with it. And additionally, removing that rock from the site and placing concrete walls will require a lot of truck traffic, road closures, and this will impact local traffic and could also affect the noise and the dust in the area. So the environmental analyses that we are undertaking now, These will establish the current conditions. These are what we're calling the baseline conditions, so that to the extent possible, we can really put our engineering controls in place during construction so that it would minimize any of these temporary impacts. So now, I'll go back to the slide for a minute. I'm going to pass it on to Mark Glasgow from Clementine Gold Group, and he'll talk about our public involvement and our enhanced public participation.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good evening, everyone. So nice to see you all here to enjoy this food while learning about this project. My name is Mark Glasgow. I am the Community Engagement Manager with Clementine Gold Group, and I'm going to spend a couple minutes just talking to you all about some of the work that we're doing to actively engage the community throughout this project. So first, I'm going to start off with explaining to you about some of the work that's happening right now. So right now, and since September, there's been some preliminary work to collect some data, and we've been working closely with our environmental and engineering partners to collect data for traffic, noise, and air. And the real purpose of this is to analyze the existing conditions so that we can really understand the temporary impacts to the community that could occur during the construction period. So throughout the project area, you may see workers right now in the neighborhood perhaps counting vehicles or inspecting the monitors that are being set up, or you may even notice some devices mounted on some poles and tripods. The data that's going to be gathered will be included in a formal environmental impact statement, which will be available for public review and comment at a later time. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the enhanced public participation plan. So the Buffalo Sewer certainly values public engagement and insight, and what my team has been doing has really involved actively engaging the community through public events such as district breakfasts, meetings with elected officials, speaking at block parties, and tabling at neighborhood events such as Funk Fest and Friday Night Live throughout the summer, if you're familiar with those events here in Buffalo. Through our engagement with Clementine Gold Group, we have been having conversations with the public based on our enhanced public participation plan, and overall, the enhanced public participation plan really outlines the methods that we're going to use to promote equity throughout this project. So our EPPP, that we call it for short, has been approved by New York State, and you can read it online on the Buffalo Sewers website in full detail. Also, we are working to engage the community through getting their feedback and some surveys, which really help us weigh which of the two options the public would prefer to see done for this project. If you don't mind, I would really encourage you all to fill out some of the surveys that we have at the back table there. It'll be really, really helpful for us to gauge what the public is really considering would be the better option of the two that are being considered. Also, we are looking at implementing some community betterment initiatives, which will include revitalizing trees and landscaping in the project vicinity, new water and sewer infrastructure, and workforce development opportunities. In addition to that, we are also forming what we call the East Delavan Advisory Committee. So the East Delavan Advisory Committee, we call it EDAC for short, is going to be a small group of individuals, about maybe 10 to 12 people, who are going to serve as champions through our project to help us push through a lot of the community engagement efforts. So we're looking for some people who are going to help us lead as active community members the efforts that we're doing to really promote the public engagement with this project. If you're interested in joining the EDAC, the East Sullivan Advisory Committee, please sign up at the back table. We have a sign-up sheet there. And I would also like to just plug in that your participation, your active participation on the EDAC will be compensated. So you can learn more details about that by speaking to me afterwards. I'm happy to share that with you. And then we already have this sign up, right? Okay. So the draft scope of work can be found online on the Buffalo Sewer's website, buffalosewer.org/East Sullivan Sewer. Please go there to read more about it. Also, this week, on Thursday, will be the virtual version of this public hearing. You can attend this hearing also on Thursday at 12 noon. The Zoom link is on the Buffalo Sewer website. We encourage you to share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, anyone that you think might be interested in learning more about this project as it moves forward. And of course, the commenting, we are accepting comments up through November 1st. Please send them accordingly to the information that you see on the projection here. And again, you can contact Buffalo Sewer directly at Queen City Clean Waters at buffalosewer.org if you have any comments or questions. Thank you.
All right, so that is the end of the presentation. So if anyone had a comment that they wanted to make, we can walk around with a microphone. You can stand up. Since we have the stenographer here recording, we just want you to state your name clearly, and then you can offer any comment you would like on the project or on how we are planning to do the conduct the environmental review and the studies as part of that. So, any comments?
Hello everybody, my name is Joel. I'm an assistant engineer with Hazen and Sawyer. I just want to say that Rebecca came up with 2 design options, which is very amazing. And I think I know the first one. And yes, that's it. I just wanted to comment that.
Anyone else?
I just wonder if there are any other areas in the city of Buffalo that have this exact same issue that Ms. Sullivan has.
Do Regina or Ruth want to answer that one? Where did Regina go?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
So the question is, if there is another area in the city of Buffalo that has a similar sewer issue and needs repair either now or in the future?
So there will be, as tomorrow, we are launching our Clean City, Clean Waters initiative. And as part of that initiative, there is actually 12 sites throughout the city of Buffalo that have been identified for similar projects. 12 sites for similar projects to this one. In addition, there are another roughly 40 sites with other modifications that are necessary. Similar more to what is happening in the very near future on Florida, where it's not this deep tank, but there are sewer modifications that are required in order for us to abate combined sewer overflows. And throughout the city of Buffalo, we are looking to install green infrastructure to, again, manage not only combined sewer overflows, but also to deal with the historical and increasingly climate change driven urban flooding issues that we all experience.
There are cold springs under this area as well. So is that going to impact your work in the other 13 areas that have a similar issue? Do they have water issues, spring issues?
So yes, we are aware of the cold springs, and we are designing to manage those cold springs as part of this project. There are different hydrological and geological issues in each of the different locations. Bedrock is high in much of the city of Buffalo. There is contamination in soils throughout much of the city of Buffalo. We have a lot of brownfield sites. We have a lot of all kinds of interesting things underneath our feet throughout the city of Buffalo. And so each site has its own challenges. But yes, in this specific case, we are particularly cognizant of the high bedrock, the cold springs, and then also there's layers of sulfur in the bedrock. And we are designing to accommodate those issues.
Looking at the placement of where you're putting it, how is it going to affect Delta and Bailey? I'm looking at it, it's down there at Jefferson and Main Street where you're putting this tank.
Right.
How is it going to help anyone at Bailey and Delta?
So,
And Pine Ridge and Delta?
so it is, will indirectly impact and indirectly affect them. Obviously, the 33 is between the two, but all of the, from Schiller Park to, all the way actually to Niagara Street, Delavan, is all part of the same Skajackwada Tunnel system. And so all of the projects throughout that Skajackwada Tunnel and the Skajackwada Creek system are linked to one another. And so what happens, we are a very divided city much of the time, and we don't think what's happening over here impacts what's happening over there, but the west side and the east side are very much connected through the Skajackwada drain, the Skajackwada Creek, and the Skajackwada Tunnel. And so, in regard to the Bailey in particular, there will be additional projects on the other side of the expressway that will more directly impact, but this project works in conjunction with other projects to free up space in that tunnel and to make sure that the flooding throughout is addressed.
How soon do you plan to do this project?
Do this project in
This
particular.
particular project? What's it estimated?
So, right now, we are looking to have it completed by 2029.
With that said, we're also looking at possibly some construction for the 33.
Yes,
All that blasting in the same area, pretty much. Yeah.
yes.
And so as part of the environmental review document, a requirement is we have to look at cumulative effects. And so part of what happens for the environmental review document is you look at other projects that are going to be happening in the area at the same time frame. And so in the adjustable work, it explains that, and it says which, you're looking at all these other projects, and then there's a section within the environmental review document that will go through, okay, what does this mean if it's overlapping this project versus that project? And it'll look at it more holistically, because we don't want to end up, saying there's no impact to this project, there's no impact to that project, there's no impact to that project, but together there could be something happening. And so that all is going to be included in the draft environmental review document.
But that's a lot going on within that neighborhood
Yeah,
at
right.
the same time. That's a very impact on the community.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're looking at this being positive at the end, but while
Yeah.
we're going through this mess,
Yes.
just thinking.
Yeah, we had a question here too about when the environmental review document will be ready. So we're doing the studies now, and hoping to release the draft environmental impact statement for review sometime in the spring and have another hearing presenting the results in May time.
I'm just curious, tank of that size, how do you plan on the aerating? Because you're not be talking about sanitary sewage, you're also talking about storm runoff as well.
So the storage is only going to be very temporary, so we don't anticipate it going septic or basically, losing all the oxygen and then create stinking, basically, right? That's what you're going at. So the goal is to have it there for a very short amount of time so that won't happen. Also, we're talking about relatively dilute combined sewage. So the first flush of the sanitary and the initial stuff will all go to the tunnel and the wastewater treatment plant and get treated. And so what's getting stored in the tunnel will be more stormwater than sewage is the expectation. Having said all of that, air in and out of the tunnel or in and out of the tank, whichever one is selected, will be there will be odor control facilities on that so that the local community doesn't smell or anything if it was coming out of there. So the intent is to have a relatively large chamber that will be buried under the sidewalk essentially, and all of that will have odor control facilities in it. Does that answer your question?
It does. Actually, I have one more on that. What is the pumping capacity of that particular site?
So the beauty of this project is we don't have to pump. Because this Scadequita tunnel is so deep. So the question was, what's the pumping capacity of the project? So the beauty of this project, I'm an engineer, so I see beauty in this, but you might not, is that we don't have to pump. So we can essentially store the tunnel or the tank at a lower elevation, so deeper in the ground than where the existing drain comes across, but still above where the tunnel eventually takes all that sewage out to Bird Island and has it treated before it goes to Niagara River. So we can just kind of store it in there. We'll have gates that will hold it back in there, and those will be motorized. And then so essentially we're paying a traffic cop, if you will. So we take all that into the tunnel or the tank. We hold it there. Once the deeper tunnel is open, we let that out, and then it goes down there and then goes and gets treated at the wastewater plant, and then goes out to the Niagara River.
Any other comments or questions?
So with the tunnel is a little stormwater, but the tank, would that also be stormwater, or would that be sewage? I'm sorry.
So we have tunnels and tanks, right? So we have a lot of Scadequitas and we have a lot of tanks and tunnels. So our project is either going to be a tank or a tunnel. We haven't made that final decision yet. Either one of those would store the combined sewage at the same level underground, and then either one would eventually flow to the Scadequita tunnel, which is deeper and already exists.
For everyone who's stating names, could you just state your name?
Emily,
What's your last name?
Dyer.
Any other comments or questions on the project or the scope?
John Cromwell, sorry that I'm late. What is the depth of these tunnel or holding tank? And also, short from option A or option B. Option A with blasting impact the same neighborhood as option.
Okay.
Sure. So I'm going to move up by these boards. There's handouts of the same image that you guys can grab in the back if you want. But essentially, either this tank or this tunnel will sit about 40 to 50 feet below grade. So this, as people can tell, sits on Canisius property right now. because it's so deep, the impacts, even though this is a big area, Canisius, if this was selected, would be able to do something over top of it. So in either of these, the white is going to be 40 or 50 feet underground. These areas that are around it, these show whether you would be able to feel the vibrations from the blasting. So you can tell, and it's essentially, you know, is it obvious? Like, are you going to feel like, is it obvious that something's moving, or is it subtle as you move away? So you can see this here is really centered around the Canisius site, but more so really the parking lot. And you can see that the tunnel, because it's right under, you know, sitting right between the homes, these homes will definitely be more affected by the tunnel than the tank will. So residents will definitely be more affected by it.
But either one of these options will solve the same problem.
Either one of these options solves the same problem.
Construction-wise, it takes longer.
The tunnel will take longer. The tunnel will take longer. The tunnel has a lot more concerns with the springs that you were mentioning and the gases, if we hit the gas. Because here we have a much smaller area that we're working within, where here the potential for a spring or a fissure, we're just going through more, and so we increase the chances. This will be slower and cost more. Yes, we have. Yeah, I think so. Any more thoughts or comments or questions?
Okay, so you said it was gonna be blasted. Oh, he was Simpson. You said it's gonna be blasted. These are older homes. Are they gonna be able to withstand the blasting?
Yes. So the blasting will be to the extent that you will feel a vibration similar to a train or a subway car going by. But it, you know, so things will rattle some, but it's not to the point where it should shift foundations and things. If the tunnel were something that was selected, there would be a lot of work done ahead of time to document conditions of homes and structures ahead of time. Yeah, so the blasting is not continuous. That's a good, excellent point. The blasting would happen probably twice a day. And so it lasts for about 4 seconds. So it's not like your porch is going to be shaking all day long. It will be twice a day for about 4 seconds. And that would happen for a period of time.
Is there going to be an alarm sounded or some device that would
Yes.
let people know this?
There would be some sort of notice in advance, yes. So, especially for this, so the tank is going to be surface blasted, so the tank is going to look a lot like the stadium construction, right? Where the stadium is going now, there's a lot of rock, you put down blankets, you blast it, the blanket kind of bounces, and then you can take it out. Obviously, this blasting is underground, so there's no, if this tunnel is done, all of the rock has to come back to this point and come out. So this just gets blasted as you move down, you just keep moving this way and pulling the rock back. So there would be some sort of warning, but it's It's not like, you're gonna feel it, but you're not gonna know it ahead of time. That's the part that can be, takes some getting used to this kind of blasting. It's exactly the same, yes. No. You will not. The areas impacted are just what's shown here, and that impact will be as that work is happening closer to your home. So if you're down here, when this work is starting down here, you're not going to feel anything, but you're gonna know as that work gets closer. The other thing that happens with this kind of blasting is the drilling, because the rock is so hard, when they're drilling before they set the blast, that drilling is actually something that people would hear beforehand. So you would hear and feel that drilling sound before you would hear the blast. So this is an extremely specialized workforce at the time. This is got a lot of significant dangers associated with it. Obviously, this is essentially mining in a hazardous environment with very limited egress and the chance for water and gas. This has got more opportunity because the blasting, obviously, again, is significant. You need appropriate training, but because we're working from the top down and it's open to the air, the activities happening around are more general construction-like, if you will. It would be local materials. I mean, essentially what we need to do in either case is take a lot of rock out of the ground and then put concrete back in and then put soil back on top. So there's very little specialized equipment in either of these. The gates obviously are specialized, the odor control would be, but the majority of this work is just labor to remove the rock and then come back and build the concrete structures. Yes. Yeah, so it's local materials, so it's all built in place essentially. So in either case, we take out more rock than the space we need, and then we either line the tunnel with concrete, or we would build a big concrete tank underground. With the concrete tank, we would build that concrete tank underground and then bring a lot of soil back on top and cover it up. So that in either case, you won't really know what happens once it's all done. All this is buried infrastructure for the most part. In either case, there will be some new structures in this area next to Canisius, around the existing Canisius property, just for BSA to access and maintain those vaults and water control facilities and gates and things. There will be steel inside the concrete, like rebar and things, but and probably there's definitely steel gates and things, so there's some manufactured materials, but the majority of the cost is labor and rock removal and then concrete.
So is there any benefit for anyone living in the community of midwives, regardless of response?
So, I'm Rosie, by the way. I'm the principal sanitary engineer for Buffalo Sewer. This project will be subject to open bidding, and public, procurement law. And it is, going to be funded through loans and grants from New York State and the federal government. There will be minority and women-owned business, goals associated with that. There is also, we are tomorrow actually having an open house with contractors and consultants to present this and other opportunities for both existing minority and women-owned businesses, and then also for new ones to work towards their certification. Because this is not the only project, but this is a major project we are undertaking, and it is part of a larger whole group of projects that we will be undertaking. There will be opportunities and for local minority, women, and other disadvantaged businesses. And we are also encouraging and including in our contract conditions local employment goals as well. So
So for those who weren't aware that this is going to be a fair, sort of tomorrow, how will people apply to
if you are a small business owner, so that's an online open house that will be posted. The information will again be posted to the Buffalo Sewer Authority's website. We are working to partner with the Exchange and several other organizations that already do a much better job than Buffalo Sewer Authority at encouraging women and minority-owned businesses and helping them get their certifications. But again, this will be subject to open bid, it will be advertised in the papers, it will be advertised in the Challenger, and we're looking to encourage those partnerships between both primes and the smaller businesses. Again, part of the issue for us as Buffalo Sewer is that those certifications are at the state and federal levels. So we can't just certify somebody as being a minority or women-owned business. You have to go through a process. And so we're working to help people with that process so that those businesses that are already out there and those businesses that are developing have access to these contracts. We are also trying to break up work in such a manner that there are contracts available for smaller firms rather than just a $70 million contract, and then, but also managing those contracts. So each project as it comes out, this will be a project, will have that open bidding and we'll have individual workshops along the way in advance of that bidding. And this is not the only contract that will be out there. And so we are also working with our consultants to try to develop other opportunities and ways to meet the community where they're at and get into those processes.
Fran Wagner, Skajapa Canoe Club. What is the target for this project in terms of percentage reduction of CSO impact on Skajapa Creek from this project area? And how are you going to measure that, prior to and at the completion of the project?
So right now we measure overflows based on rainfall, based on existing metering, and believe that this area we are 35 times per year that this area overflows to Skajapa Creek. With this project, we are getting it down to 3 or less per year. And so this area will overflow 3 or less per year. And then we are also moving up and down the Skajapa drain system. So ultimately, the goal is to get the entirety of the Skajapa drain system down to 4 or less. And then do the same within the Black Rock system and the Skajapa creek system as well. So that entire network of water is controlled. And it is only during those most extreme storms that there are overflows occurring. And we do have ongoing metering, and with this project, part of what we'll be measuring and part of the logic of those gates will be having metering after the point. So we will be able to monitor what's happening through those meters that are left in the ground as part of those gate controls. Emily?
Does the tank or the tunnel, do they store the same amount of water?
They will store the same amount of water. They will have the same control. They may have slightly different volumes because of the dynamics of the system and the way that water shifts. You don't necessarily have to have the same exact volume, but it will have the same control volume. Because water keeps flowing, so it moves. They will both ultimately, the lowest point will be at the same depth. Ultimately, what this does is we have to get underneath the drain, the old Scajaquina Creek, to get to the tunnel. And so there is a depth that we need to get down and then further down to the tunnel. So we're ultimately going the same depth, but with the tunnel, we're going there a bit more gradually. With the tank, we're more concentrated, so we're going to be deeper, faster. We will investigate the rodent impact, but any residential impacts are going to be lessened the less that we are impacting residences.
What would be the impact on neighborhood access for two options?
For neighborhood access, no matter what, there is a period that we will need to shut down this area of Delavan between Main and Jefferson. For this site, again, most of the impact is actually, as far as the neighborhood access is actually contained within there. There is some surface work that does need to happen along that will be more impactful to the neighborhood here. But in this site, again, either way, the majority of the construction is contained to that area between, really between the bank turnaround and Jefferson. And that's really where you're gonna see the roads shut down for an extended period of time with either option. With the tunnel, we bore a shaft way down, and then we're going out from there, and blasting from that shaft. With here, we're just we're blasting a giant hole in the ground. But either way, this section of road gets shut down. I did have somebody pass me a note, ask me what if my home is damaged by vibrations from the blasting. We are planning to survey all homes that may be impacted in advance, and then whatever contractors we end up with will have terms in their contracts of what they have to do in order to minimize vibration impacts, but ultimately they have insurance, and Buffalo Sewer Authority is self-insured and pays claims if your home is damaged by what we're doing. Yes, Emily?
Will the tank pose liability on them as well? Same
this area of the impact from the tank. No matter what, there's a few homes on Florida Street that will be impacted with either option. But the majority of the home impacts are with the tunnel.
Address it before this is gonna go to the entire decades, get to a pre-drainage system. What's the overall time frame you're speaking of? Decades?
No, it's not decades. I believe we are completely done with the Skajapa system, within a decade. As for the Skajapa system. There's additional work for the Buffalo River system and the Niagara system that will stretch to 2040, is our current schedule, but, this year, within the Skajapa system, we're looking at, within the decade.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, if there isn't now, hopefully everyone understands the project a bit better. So just a reminder that the draft scope of work is available online, and so you can actually now understand the project. Go ahead and take a look at how we plan to determine whether or not there will be impacts. And if you have questions or concerns about any of that, we really encourage people to submit comments that can then be addressed in the final scope of work, because that's what we're using to do the environmental review. So we want to make sure we get that right.
Also, just got a note to follow and like the Buffalo Sewer Authority, the Facebook site. There's a lot of information that's posted on there as well.
Yes, I believe that's planned.
So Saturday, we'll actually be at the Maston District Stakeholders Breakfast. Yes.
Yeah, any of those types of things that you feel like would be worthwhile to attend, let us know, because we'll go ahead and do that.
When will the choice be made to use options?
Rosie Regina, when will the choice be made between the options? Vote, everyone vote. And then we can make it faster.
So, we're looking to have a preliminary choice made between the two options based on public comments that we received between now and the end of this calendar year. Ultimately, until that environmental impact statement is issued, we are not 100% making any choices. We want this to be a community-informed choice and not something that is coming down from Buffalo Sewer Authority that this is it. Most of the comments that we've received to date, we've received dozens and dozens of comments that keep coming through my email, and the vast majority have been leaning towards the tank. And it seems like the majority of this room has similarly are starting to lean that way. But again, we need it to be a community-informed decision. If I need to go and shake the trees for an extra $20 million so that the tunnel can be the choice, I will go and shake trees and talk to our unelected officials to find $20 million if that's what's necessary. So, yeah, so.
And just really quickly, I'm going to plug again. I hope everyone has learned a lot of information from this public hearing. It was just so good to hear all of the questions, the comments, and feedback. But I just want to plug again that we are actively looking for community members to, help us with the insights, the guidance, and recommendations throughout this project with the planning, design, and the execution of it. So if you are interested in joining our advisory committee, please sign up at the back table.
Anything else? All right, well, we'll be.
There is banana pudding over here, y'all. I don't know if y'all saw that. So take a sweet on your way out if you didn't already get one. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. Please either comment on which alternative you prefer, comment on the draft scope of work, and we'll look forward to more engagement in the coming months.
Not a